I can't hear you.
What about now?
I can hear you. Good morning,
Okay,
Ricardo.
hold on. Welcome to Force for Growth. I'm Ricardo.
I'm Courtney, and thank you for joining us on this very special episode where we are talking about a year of lessons and still learning. So, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Oh man, Courtney, it's been a year of lessons and a year of laughs.
Yeah. Yes, it
Uh,
has. And thank you for that.
So March 16th, we officially went live for the first time. It was called the Fireside Chat,
Yes.
and it was you, me, and Mr. Levy.
Yes.
Yeah,
Levy Jackson.
Levi was here, and that video popped up on my memories yesterday. So I thought that was pretty cool. It was not a podcast. We had a podcast, but the podcast was dormant, so to
Mhm.
speak. And we were just hit with the pandemic. That's the truth. And I was
Mhm.
like, "Hey, Courtney, hey, Levi, let's go live today. Let's just chat and
Yeah.
see what happens." Right.
Yes.
So the original idea, the when we first started it, well, we were live on Mondays and Thursdays. So Monday it was me, Courtney, and Levi, and then Thursday it was me and Michelle Martini.
Mhm.
And then it's obviously evolved. And then at some point around June, I decided to start posting to the podcast, to the actual podcast, to all the platforms, and to YouTube. And we've
Mhm.
evolved. Like
Yeah.
you don't even look the same.
I no, it was funny to watch the old one from a year ago, but it was also kind of cringeworthy. Like I was like, our sound was so bad. I can hear my cat. I can hear your son. There's two Levies. Like it was just like all this, but like I also see the gym in there of what we were starting and what we wanted to do, and so it made me really proud to think a year later and that we just stuck with it. And I mean, it's absolutely not been perfect, but we've enjoyed ourselves. We've learned a lot. And I mean, we're only polishing it from here. So,
It makes me very proud that you actually said that the sound wasn't good.
yeah,
Because I
that was
think
literally the last thing on my list I wrote down was know the difference between a condenser microphone and a dynamic microphone if you're going to have a podcast, you guys. Like, that's my number one tip. Love you guys.
oh my goodness. And see, here's the thing though. I don't think that you knew that was bad sound.
Right.
I don't think you knew that it sounded bad
Yeah.
until I started like pushing it and I was like, all right, we really got to up the quality on this.
Yeah. And even things like I'm now in a smaller room, so I have that appreciation for being at a smaller, more like studio-like room versus a big room. I was in the biggest room in my house. It was all open. So it's just little things that I like the 1% improvement every time, but looking back and seeing them all at the same time
For
had me
sure.
rolling on the floor.
For sure. So looking back at that first episode or those first few episodes or that first month or 2 months, were you nervous?
Yeah.
You were nervous?
Yeah, I feel like you kinda tricked me into this
Oh, wait, what? What? Whoa,
slightly,
whoa,
slightly.
whoa, whoa,
Because I have to
whoa.
take some credit. I definitely did want to be a part of a podcast. So, but we had the 6 a.m. calls, and so I got used to being on Zoom, and I got used to you putting me on the spot, just like we put you on the spot too, but the hot seat, and kind of how the style of our 6 a.m. calls. So 6amtribe.net if you want to know more about that. And so
Yes.
then we just kind of started the same thing, but it was you and Levi. And so to me, it was just like, okay, these are just my buddies. We're just having another talk, just like 6 a.m. call on Zoom. And we use StreamYard. So it's a Zoom, it looks the same. So I did have to get over that whole factor like, okay, we're going live. Oh, this isn't just private for us to chat about. But at the same time, we had an agreement that, okay, we'll be authentic and just see what happens. And I love that we took that stance from the get go. But yeah, I was a little nervous. It dissipated real quick. It probably dissipated in less than a month because I just got used to this. And then, but it's always had that friend aspect. And so
Yeah, it's always
Levi, that's what he
yeah.
does.
Yeah, Levi was on there. Levi had all sorts of camera issues. He was like doubling up. We were like, "What is going on, Levi? Like, you need to get this situated, brother." Oh
Yeah.
man, I
Oh,
should.
but we didn't mind because literally we were so relaxed about it. So it's just funny that we have our structure now and things that We would not compromise on, let's
We
say
would
that.
not. Levi says he was never nervous. I wasn't really nervous. It was just kind of like, okay, let's just talk. Let's just have a
Mhm.
conversation. Let's just see what happens and see what it evolves to.
Yeah,
Right.
love that.
And so
What
it
was
was
your
always one of
plan?
those
Did
things.
you have a plan?
I didn't have a plan. I was bored. I was
Yeah,
because I mean, that was like literally we met, we had our circle of success meeting that Saturday, and then they locked everything down Sunday.
yeah,
Like literally that week, they locked everything down. They locked Texas down, and they said, it was the stay-at-home order or whatever it was,
mhm,
right?
yeah.
And I woke up and I was like, "Hey, let's just go. Let's just do this," you
We
know.
could yeah, we
And
could
we
stick
went through several iterations. Like, so now here's the thing: all these old videos are going to start popping
around.
up. They're going to start popping up on our memories, right? So
Yeah,
it's our responsibility to share them. And these are the hit, quote unquote, hidden episodes. But look, thinking back, even just looking at the videos that we started when we started in June, uploading to YouTube, it's wardrobe changes, background changes, uh,
constantly.
like everything. Like we were just like everything was just changing. Like we were just like the name changed. We
Yeah.
started off with a fireside chat, and then we named it the Lions Den. And then I was like, wait a minute, I have a podcast already named Force for Growth. Why don't I just name it Force for Growth?
Yeah.
Um,
Then was it Force for Growth Live or just Force for Growth show? We went through
yeah,
that too.
we went through that too. It was like this whole thing, a
Yeah.
year's worth of haircuts or the
Haircuts,
lack thereof.
makeup change. Yeah. Deciding
Uh,
what kind of makeup I actually like. That's a whole nother thing. We won't get on that
your
subject,
chair,
ladies.
like you
But
in your chair, you got a new
yes.
chair.
Yes. I love my
I went from sitting down to standing up.
yeah.
All sorts of equipment changes, all sorts of stuff like that. Like, wow. But
Yeah.
over the last year, what have been some of your biggest takeaways? What have you learned about yourself? What have been some of your biggest lessons?
Well, one, I do want to give a shout out to the best assistant executive producer in the world, Jesse Leone, who's always here with us. And love you very much. Thank you for being a very big support to me and as well to your husband. But as well, just her comments and your wisdom and everything. So, but her name isn't on right there with Ricardo's in mine. So, do have to give a shout out to Jesse. Makes it
Yes.
amazing. But okay, so I did make a list. You asked me to prepare. So you don't know how to be better until you actually start. That was one big takeaway that yeah, I'll quote Becky Blake, build the plane in the air. I didn't shake my perfectionism until kind of midway where I was like, we don't know unless we try. We got to try an episode, do this, try it, do this. If we don't like it, change it. And yeah, Jesse's talking about the mics. How many mics we went through. Oh my goodness. That
A
was a
lot.
whole nother, but you don't know what you like or what your standard will be until you try it.
You
And
don't.
that's scary. Get over it. Like,
You
that's the
don't.
lesson.
I mean, well, I got to give a lot of love to Jessie because we rearranged the schedule here at the Leon household, and she's filled in for me before.
Yeah.
Like when I had to crew an event or work an event. It was you, her, and Michelle.
Yeah.
And
Which I love the ladies' days.
I was like, just go for it, babe. Like she's like, okay, I don't know what to do though. And she's like, hello. Like, I'm like, okay, well,
Oh,
like, what can you do?
yeah.
What can you do?
But
Right?
it's perfect because she brings the fire just like you, but she's
Uh,
different than you. So,
correct, correct. And
yeah.
big shout out to Julian. He always pops in every once in a while.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's always fun to have around.
Yeah.
And it's been a good year. What else? What's
Yes.
another big takeaway?
Listen to the feedback.
Oh, that's a big one.
Oh, listen to the feedback. And I say this is the one that gets the least feedback out of from the public. And so, anyway, I think it's been mostly good feedback. I think Ricardo might not tell me if it's bad, but just kidding. But no, we listen to the feedback. So when we get complimented on something or when we get, kind of a slap on the wrist for something like, hey, don't do it like this. Okay, we listen, but we also listen to the feedback of how does this make us feel? Is this what we want to do? Is this the message we want to be putting out? And
Mhm.
it is. And so we doubled down on some things, but we
One
changed some things.
one for me is I was really scared to push you and Michelle.
That's a big
I
point.
was scared. I was scared. I was like, like if I really put the smackdown on you guys, like I was like, I don't know. Y'all haven't seen me just put the smackdown on people.
Right.
Typically, typically my SmackDown is on Jesse or Sebastian, and Levi's gotten a SmackDown or two here and there, you know. But I was like, I don't know. Y'all haven't really seen that side out of me, and I don't know if you guys would be so receptive to me, like, hey, no, this has got to change,
Yeah.
you
And
know.
and you had to trust your gut, and what happened when you did?
And I had to go with it and be like, oh, just trust and be like, okay, we're doing a good thing here. We got to grow, we got to expand, we got to do things a little bit differently, and we have to go in the right direction. And even
Mhm.
if we don't know if it's the right direction, we just listen to the feedback and do it anyways, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's all we can
Absolutely.
do.
Yeah, and we both, Michelle and I, appreciate those pushes. There was many in loving ways, but yeah, but we both have grown a lot from it. And granted, Michelle's no longer part of our cast, but she's a dear friend and will always be,
Yes.
and part of the Firewalker family. But she grew from this stint with us as well, just like I grew. So it's much appreciated. And
Good times. It was good
yeah.
times. But that was a big one for me. And also just being consistent. I
Hmm.
know we always know that being
Yeah.
consistent is a big one, right? But
Yes.
until you're experiencing it and you're like, okay, we just have to get in the rhythm of it and do it no matter what.
Hmm.
And just continue to be consistent no matter what.
No matter what. And that's there. I put that one down on my list too. But a lesson I learned on top of that is sometimes you need to give up exact details to stay consistent on the main goal, right?
Yes.
Like there were days we did a nighttime recording, there were days we did a noon recording, but why? Because we made that vow to our project that we will do this today. Period. Now, life happens, right? Life definitely happened to both of us and upside down and sideways. So, but we still filmed and we still made it happen, and I'm really proud of that. So I've learned a lot about consistency in that I thought it has to be the exact way every time, or you can't call yourself consistent, and that's not true. That's not
No,
true.
it's not. The consistency matters because I mean we're fixing when we hit June, we're gonna have been recording 3 days a week for a year. That's a good milestone.
Yeah.
That's a good milestone. So we've already passed the year mark of when we started recording, but we didn't start posting to YouTube and to the podcast until June.
Yeah.
So that's our next milestone.
How exciting.
Woo!
We have
That is,
multiple milestones.
we
Like,
do
that's
have
exciting.
milestones. Yeah, we do. And it's just not being scared, going for it. And Kanai, right? Tony
Yeah.
Robbins teaches the concept of Kanai, constant and never ending improvement.
Mhm. Yeah.
And just consistently changing things up.
Yeah.
I went back and looked at the fire background, and I was like, man, that was kind of hideous.
I liked it at the time, so I'm not a good
You know,
opinion. Cause yeah.
like I was kind of like, but I mean, this looks a little bit more slicker and like, okay, like it's
Mhm.
brand, everything is brand oriented now. Like
Yeah.
it's a brand.
Oh, that's a whole nother thing. Picking the colors and the logo. Like, we didn't even know what colors were our theme when we started, but that didn't hold us back from
We
starting. So
did it. It did
if
it.
you're waiting on your logo to be perfect to start a project, or to get that trademark or copyright done before you start a project,
Ain't nobody got time for that.
let me quote my wise friend Ricardo from like 3 years ago. You were like, I think your excuses just got more sophisticated because you're talking about lawyers and copyrights, but it's still an excuse. And then, two, you were like, I'm pretty sure if you can get your name out there publicly online, whether it's copyrighted or not, if you are the first one to start doing it, you're going to win in court. Okay. Like, it's going to be
I think
okay.
it'll be
But
okay.
it's that whole idea of like, Uber. Uber was sued by the company that created the idea for the same concept, but they never executed it.
Mm,
Uber came in and executed it. Well, who's king now? Uber, right? And
yes.
so just like take this as a little preview or something, or just expand your project. You don't have to complete it, but just do something every day. It's not as hard as we're all making it.
And that was a big lesson. Another thought that came to me is how many podcasts were started during the pandemic? Thousands. I think at one point I saw there was an estimate that there was 5 or 10,000 podcasts a month started a
Mm,
month.
wow.
And how many are still going? I'm pretty sure not that many.
I'd say under
Yeah.
25% probably.
I would say under 25% that actually stayed consistent in creating episodes and things like that because people think it's easy.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
It's
It's not easy.
But it's also not. the most complicated thing in the world. So stop making it that in your head, you know?
Correct. And then pushing ourselves to find more topics when we were
Oh,
thinking
yeah.
that, oh my goodness, how are we going to finish off this month with topics? Where are these
Yeah.
topics going to come from? Well, I
Yeah.
don't know. Like we got to start getting creative. And that's really where the growth happens is when you stretch yourself a little bit more further than
Mhm.
you think of then that's where the growth happens when you stretch yourself a little bit further than what you think you're capable of doing.
Yeah. Yeah. And how many of those lessons were because we were going through it in our own life? That's something I
Oh
did
my
jot
goodness.
down was a rule: be completely authentic and don't take ourselves so seriously, right? So
Correct.
we didn't really say those rules, but it was just an unspoken rule, I feel like. But how many okay, a year ago, there were topics I've now discussed on this podcast. I would have bet you money I would never talk about live. Are you kidding me? No. Me? Never. And then you know, spend some time with Ricardo and it'll happen. But it just came out. And so it's like that has added to I don't know. Next time I'm nervous about what will somebody think about me if they see this side of my soul. Will they judge me? Will they this? I also know the power of how it can help people because those
Yes.
private messages, like just you know, I somebody told me that they held off hiring a life coach because they found our podcast. Like,
Wow.
you might as well have given us an Oscar as to what that means to hear that, when we just started it to just help a few people. Maybe a few people who hear this, maybe it'll spread like wildfire. Let's see. And we just did it. And so um I like seeing the full circle of it, but I didn't realize what was to come as far as how easy that would make it in everyday life, just to walk up to somebody and be willing to help them and be vulnerable if that's where they need me to be.
Man, speaking of vulnerability, there was a couple of times over the last year that Jesse was like, I can't believe you talked about that. I can't believe you brought that up.
Yeah.
I can't
Spouse
believe,
feedback, I bet, is
yeah, I can't believe
telling.
you said that. And then there's been a couple where she's like, why would you talk? Why would you say that? Why would you share that?
Let's say, have you gotten in trouble yet for
I've a couple of times, but I was kind of like, well, is it true? And Jesse's like, yeah, it is. So, I mean, it's part of it, right? It's part about being out there and putting yourself out there
Yeah.
and being honest with what's going on in your life, right?
Mhm.
Um, and then even Sebastian would listen in with Jesse, and he's like, I can't believe my dad. I said that about me. I can't tell him nothing. He can't hold a secret.
Yeah, that one
Like,
was funny whenever Sebastian got angry at you for
when my
sharing.
7-year-old gets mad at me because he's listening to the podcast and he's like, why would he say that about me? Why
That
would
was
he
a
say
secret.
that? Like that was a secret. I'm like, okay, well, things cross over though. But again,
Yeah.
it's about open and sharing and our personal experience, our personal growth, our personal journey,
Mhm.
and really making it to where it's a family. Like,
Yeah.
if we don't talk about what's going on in our life, what good is it?
Yeah, exactly. Like, what's the point?
There is no point.
Yeah. And that's what I mean, I love that people want to have this polished look and polished persona online and like, "Oh, look at me, I'm perfect. Look at my perfect family, perfect
Whew.
bank account." Okay, but that's also why you're not resonating with anyone because they need realness, they need authenticity, they need that rawness. People relate more on their the issues they have with things than they do what they want. And so it's just I'm not saying go around like creating problems out of nowhere, but I mean I'm saying be authentic and share where you're actually at and just I mean if you need permission, here we go. We give it to you. It'll
Yes.
be okay, trust us.
Let's go to some of the comments real quick. Jesse says, I think our family has grown together the podcast process. Oh, I think our family has grown together through the podcast process. I thought that's nice.
Yeah,
Alex,
that's a big one. That's a huge I just want to stop and appreciate that because that's something I never would have seen a year ago.
no, we would have never seen we would have, I don't think I saw myself a year down the line,
Yeah.
to be
Yeah, that's
perfectly
fair.
honest. It was just doing it like just day by day.
Yes.
Alex says, when we put ourselves out there, it's a form of accountability. Accountability can be good.
Yes, yes. Mr. Alex, one of our favorite guest speakers of all
Favorite
time.
person, just
Yes.
favorite person,
Just
good people,
everything. Yeah.
just everything.
Great
You know,
example to
one of the
everyone.
things that comes to mind is I grew up thinking and knowing that I have a face for radio. Dun dun.
Yeah, there you go. I love that. Oh, man.
Uh,
That's the next thing we need to get him, guys, is just some little drums. He can
I
do
had
that. We
I
could
had
fit
to
some
have a
bongos right there.
singer there. What else? What's another lesson,
Okay.
Courtney?
Hump day, hump day. Okay, so
Oh
I
my
did wanna
goodness.
talk about that because it is Wednesday, so technically, if you're watching this live, it's hump day. So you got a hashtag hump over your hurdle, okay? But I did want to go into a little bit about that. So the whole idea of hump over your hurdle, it's the Brian Tracy, eat that frog. Eat the meatiest, most protein, whatever will make the rest of your list easier to get done. Conquer that first. It'll build momentum. Screw motivation. Motivation's not going to show up when you expect it to. That's
No,
not
it
how
ain't.
it works, right? But momentum, you can reverse engineer that. And so it's just the idea. My mother always said, start with the obvious. When you don't know what to do, start with the obvious. And then when you get that done, what's the next obvious? And so working with you and just start with if I say something like, oh, this is the hardest thing on my list, I would get like dagger eyes, like, you have to do that now, right? Like from Ricardo, but in a very healthy way. And so I just want to really highlight the whole idea of whether it's just Wednesdays every week or whether it's how you live your life, conquer what's bothering you the most right now. Seriously, I'm not kidding. Conquer it. Look it in the eye. Figure it out. Don't let that shit overrule you anymore. Don't let that fear overtake you anymore. If you look at fear in the eye, it becomes something else. Now, it could become anger. It can also become motivation. So it's up to you what you do with it. And so that is truly where I'm coming from when I say, like, happy hump day, hump over your hurdle. Like, that is such a huge lesson to me. And that's why I held off talking about it. I didn't want to say it at the beginning because um, just, I mean, yeah, it's not just a hashtag to me. It's how I want to live my life. And so just if I can
Mm.
get the hard things out of the way first, then I can enjoy the rest of it. And that's what I'm here for, is to live it. So,
Eat that frog, Courtney Carr.
yes.
Eat that frog.
Oh,
Yeah.
and shout out to Louise. I used to nanny for a woman named Louise from England, and I still can never get it out of my head, but she would call it the toad. She's like, Courtney, I ate my toad today. Ate my toad. I loved her. Oh, it's
I ate my
wonderful.
toad.
Yeah. So eat your toad, eat your frog. Come on.
All right. My number one lesson through this whole process over the last year, and this was a tough one for me. This was hard to accept and hard to remember and even harder to execute. Just have fun and enjoy what we're doing.
Hmm.
There's been so many times where I've just been so serious and I'm like, okay, we're going to take this to the top. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. We're going to go to number one
Right.
with a bullet. I don't know what the saying is. But we're going to push it, push it, push it. Yes, yes, yes. We're going to grow it, grow it, grow it. Yes, yes, yes. And Jesse's like, relax, man. Relax. It's okay.
Yeah.
Relax. Have fun. And I'm like, I have to remember to have fun and enjoy it, because if we're not having fun, if we're not laughing, if we're not having these little imperfect moments where we hear a noise in the background or something's happening, and mind you, over the year I had to desensitize myself to it, because it would be like, Courtney, one strike for Courtney, one
Yeah.
strike for Michelle. Oh, and here I am with noises, one strike for me. I got to improve on
Y'all
that.
wanna hear a funny
I
story?
gotta fix that. I have to fix that. That is unacceptable. I have to change it. She has to change it. We have to change this. We have to learn to do. So over the year, I had to loosen up and be like, you know what? These little imperfect moments are okay. They're
Mhm.
fun. Go
Yeah.
ahead. What's the
And
funny
you
story?
create okay, well, and I just wanna say you create that space for me as well, and so it's very helpful because very often, I don't know, there'll just be times where I'll be like, "Oh my gosh, but we have to film at this time," and you're like, "Yeah, we made up that rule, so it's okay if we break it," and, like, you bring me back to the fun and creative part, but no, there was one time okay, so we used a different sound software now for the recording part, but before, I thought whenever I hit mute, it muted everything. And no, it just muted the live recording, not the background podcast recording to post later. Anyway, details don't matter. But point being, I kept hitting mute and screaming at my cat. And I'm like, Penny, shut up, shut up. And so at one point we go to coffee. And you were like, hold down. I think you need, no, that's a Livy reference. Hold
That is
down.
a Livy reference.
Livy, I hope you're still listening. Oh my
Hold
gosh, love
down.
you. Hold down, guys. And you like just played a recording and you like, I need you to listen to this. And you just like turn your phone around and play. And it was like, Penny, shut up. And it was just anyway, it was just hilarious because it was literally me just shrieking at the cat. And then I felt bad because I was like, oh, he has to go through and edit all those out. I've been doing that a while. Like, so anyway, but now take the feedback, right? We have a certain software that when I hit the mute button and I have to yell at my animals, it mutes everywhere, making Ricardo's life easier.
Improvements, improvement, improvement. Constant and
Oh,
never ending improvement, right?
yes.
Speaking
Yes.
of software, over the last year, I had to learn at least 2 to 3 new pieces of software to improve the quality of the podcast. And I'm still learning. I'm still taking training. I'm still buying courses on this software in order to improve how we sound, in order to improve the overall quality of the podcast. Because
Mm-hmm.
one of my biggest beliefs, and this goes to the audio, to the microphones, to the way that we sound, is if you're worth listening to, wait a minute. And that's my own thought too, and I can't even remember.
I was about to say it's a good one. You take a
What
breath on that because it
yeah.
needs to be said.
What you say matters and you're worth listening to. So why not use equipment and software in order so you can be heard? In order so you can be heard.
Yeah.
I have this deep belief, and this is a theory, this is a hypothesis. I have this deep theory, especially over the last year when everything went to Zoom, that people don't think that they have value in their voice, so they don't care what they sound like on a virtual meeting.
Mm-hmm.
That they think that subconsciously they think that their voice doesn't matter, that they don't have value to add to the room, to the Zoom, to the live. So they don't put an emphasis on sound. And in
Mm-hmm.
some cases, I know that's not true. It's just, why we don't know what to buy. We haven't had a chance to buy it, this and that. But if it's a continuous thing and you're not trying to improve that, there might be something going on there. And it's just always been my deep seated belief that if you have something to say, it deserves to be heard, and it deserves to be heard the best way possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And as granted, the certain equipment and things I have much more of an appreciation for now than I did a year ago. But I mean, if you don't like the way a mic sounds, test out others. I mean, there's so many people with podcasts. You probably have enough friends that have the name brand mics you can try out. But seriously, it's not something you should make so hard in your head. So, like, if you don't like the sound of the mic you bought, okay, get another one. Okay, go up to the sound store and test them out. Go.
Yes,
You have so many buddies that you could offer to buy theirs half off that they never used for the podcast and never started,
that
right?
is true.
So resources are endless. So I just do want to add to I had a cheap mic before and just thought, okay, it's fine. It'll work. It'll do. So if your equipment will it'll do and you're very like low standards on it, just take a look at that. I'm even about to take a sound engineering course just because I want to understand how, the equilibrium better and up polished off DJ Court, right? But it's this process that has taught me to appreciate that. And I heard that differently when you said it a year ago, but hearing it now, I just really want to help get that message out that we all have a magic gift. We all
It
have a
matters.
message and it all matters. But what are you doing with it?
Correct.
That we might need to change direction on. So,
Now, if you're starting out, you get what you get and you start with what you can, right? And if that's the reason, fine. But improve. You can get a decent USB mic for $50. There's no excuse to not have a decent USB mic
yeah.
that's going to make you sound better than the computer built-in mic,
Hmm.
right?
Worlds
AirPods,
better.
headphones, right? Things like that. There's all sorts of things that you can use that sound way better than the laptop built-in mic.
Hmm.
So your voice matters. Make it shine.
Yeah,
All right.
absolutely.
You got one more, Courtney?
Let's see. Just have fun. Have fun. Like laugh. Like there were moments we had to stop and take a breath because one of us was secretly freaking out, probably me. And one of us was like, oh, she needs to chill out or something, or like we need to make each other laugh, or we can't stop laughing even though we've hit the live button and we have to do our intro now. So just it's okay to bring that element to it, and it's okay to pause and say we need to take a second to breathe and us literally breathe, so whatever you need in the moment, use it, but bring the fun, bring the creativity, and if it's not there, it's okay to say, oh, I'm freaking out, I need to take a breath, let's all take one together. It's okay
Mm,
to be human, and so stop trying to hide that you aren't perfect, because the world already knows that and they already
yes,
love you, but they would like to see more of you.
they would. They would.
Yeah.
Okay, real quick. One of my biggest lessons that I forgot that I need to mention because Jesse threw it up here. It's women don't like headphones. I was prepared to buy everyone like the studio headphones, and Jesse's just like, no, that's not gonna work, babe. They're not gonna use that. They're not gonna put that on their head. I'm like, why not? They sound great. It's gonna make everything so much sound better. It's gonna sound good. No, it messes up our hair. Like,
Yeah.
what? Who cares about hair? It's all about sound quality and sounding good and creating a good product. No one cares about hair.
That was a lesson Ricardo did have to learn.
I did. I had to learn that. I had to learn that. And we still
Yeah.
have technical issues. I mean, Monday on the live, I hit the wrong button and left Courtney here by herself. You know,
And I haven't done my permissions recently, so I didn't have the button to end the broadcast. I was like, hey.
hey, bye. You're like, and I went back to look at that, and you were just sitting there. You're like, leave. I was like, okay, there you go.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
this is
but
a good episode. So good
so
reminiscing.
funny.
This
It
was so
is,
good
yes.
reminiscing. So,
Oh,
our year anniversary of the first recording, not the first post to the podcast, but the first recording that led to the revamp of the podcast and the regrowth of the podcast.
mhm,
Um, March
definitely.
16th, 2020.
Whoop, whoop.
Yeah.
Yeah,
A
that
good day. A good day. A good
it is.
day.
It
And
is.
big shout out to the Fireside Chat, the Lions Den, the Force for Growth show,
And
Force for Growth live, and
and
now it's
now,
just Force for Growth.
force for growth. Yes, yes,
Uh, with that
absolutely.
said, thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you like and share this video, share the podcast, help us grow our listener base. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Force for Growth. And
Yes,
remember to be a force for good
a force for growth.
and a force for greatness.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.